Today we're going to be learning about owl adaptations. Owls are one of my favorite birds of all of the birds, and I'm really excited to teach you all about them today. So adaptations is where we're going to start. Adaptation. What is an adaptation? An adaptation is a special skill which helps an animal to survive and do everything it needs to do. Adaptations could be physical changes to the animal's body or behavioral changes in how an animal or a society do things in their daily lives. Here are some examples, such as giraffes have long necks that helps them reach the tops of the trees and get the leaves up there in like the African safari desert when it's kind of like sparse. Maybe there's camouflage, like having black and white stripes. Maybe it's a hard egg. What do you think? I want you to think in your head. What do you think a mane might be good for, or horns on a sheep? There's lots of different things they could be helpful with. Some vocabulary we're going to need to remember today. These are words that you've learned already, but I want to remind us. So there's nocturnal versus diurnal. So diurnal means active during the daytime and sleep at night. Can you please try saying the word diurnal to yourself? There's also nocturnal. Nocturnal are active at night and sleep during the daytime. Nocturnal. So humans are diurnal. We're active during the daytime and sleep at night. Also raptor. Raptor is a bird of prey, a large, strong bird that feeds on smaller animals. So owls are kind of raptors. That's what we're going to be looking at today. Okay, so what are some special tools or adaptations that owls need to be able to hunt at night? I'll have you think in your head for a moment. Here's some I came up with. So their eyes. Owl eyes are really cool. The size of an owl's eyes are about 10% of the size of the owl. So that's like if you, as a student, were to be an owl. So if an owl was as big as you, that'd be like if you were to hold up baseballs to your eyes, or just make really big fists with your hands and hold them up to your eyes. That's how big an owl's eyes are compared to the rest of their body. Movement. So owls have no peripheral vision. Peripheral vision is the ability to see things to the side, to the right or left of you when you're looking straight ahead. So if you make little circles with your hands and hold them over your eyes, and that is what it's like for an owl to see. They can't see things that's happening to the right or the left, but you as a human can see things over here and over here. So let me show you what I mean by that. So you can see things here and here when you're looking straight ahead. Owls can't, so they're looking just like this. That's why they need to be able to turn their head so much. So their necks can turn not all the way around, but they can turn 270 degrees. This is what this looks like. So if you were to take one hand and place it on your opposite shoulder and then turn your head this way, if you were an owl, you could turn your head all the way around to be able to look at your hand on your other shoulder. That's crazy. Another adaptation owls have is their ears. So their face shape helps with their ears as well. Their face is kind of the shape of a satellite disc. So it kind of dips in the middle that helps bring sound towards them. The placement of the ears. This is tricky. Where do you think an owl's ears might be placed? Would it surprise you to hear they're like this? One's up here, one's down here. Crazy. Let's watch a video about it. Okay, the video's not working. I will place that on Seesaw for you to watch later. Okay, and how well can they really hear? How well can owls actually hear? 100 times better than a human. That's crazy. Owls can hear a mouse from 60 feet away from them. A mouse, think of how small that is. They can even hear animals that are underneath snow. That's like really impressive because snow kind of muffles sound, makes it harder to hear things. Their wings. Owls have really cool wings as well. I want you to look at this. One of those is an owl's wing. Which one do you think it is? The top or the bottom? Now, why do you think it's that one? An owl's wings look like the top one. And now the video is not going to show, but I'll do a little demonstration so you can see what the owl's wings would look like. So what I want you to do is make sure your ear is nice and exposed. I want you to hold your hand out like this and flap it next to your ear. How well can you hear that sound? Now I want you to close your hands together like this and do it again. Can you hear that sound better? Which one's easier to hear and which one's harder to hear? You might find that it's easier to hear when the feathers are close together like this. That's because the air gets trapped behind it, or the air gets trapped and moves really, really in big motions. Whereas with the feathered wings, the air can kind of move through it a little bit better. So that helps to owls to have really quiet flight. Again, that video will be on Seesaw. Eating. So what do owls eat? What do you think owls eat? I want you to think. Remember, they're raptors, so they eat meat. They eat birds, voles, shrews, rats, moles, insects, bats, all sorts of different things. But they don't have teeth, so how do they eat this meat? How do they eat it? Well, they have talons, and some owls, like the barred owl, has what's called didactyl talons, which means that their talons, they have two here and one here, two here, two here, and they can squish up their food. Squish it up. And what this allows them to do is after they squish it up with those super, super sharp talons, they can just eat it whole. They also have a beak that helps them to catch it. You can see this is also a barred owl. It has a curved beak, which helps them to grab their prey and eat it. So after they grab it, they kind of mush it up, like I said, and they swallow it. And they eat a lot. 1 year study of a barn owl revealed the following diet: 1,407 mice, 143 rats, 7 bats, 5 young rabbits, 375 house sparrows, 23 starlings, 54 other birds, 2 lizards, 174 frogs, 25 moths, and 52 crickets. That means that bird ate a total of 2,267 different creatures in 1 year, which is the same as eating about 5 to 6 per night. So owls are busy hunters. Now, because owls don't have teeth, they eat their whole prey, but they can't digest the fur and the bones. So what you wind up getting is an owl pellet. And owls expel this, which means they poop it, about 10 to 18 hours after eating. And they can't eat again until they expel it. And if you look inside an owl pellet, you can find all the different parts of the animal that it ate. So you can see the fur and every single bone, because they can't digest those bones, come out in the owl pellet. So if you were to dissect this and break it apart to look in, you would find every single bone in there. That's really cool. So which birds live in Seattle? There's actually a lot of different owls that live in our area. I'm going to show you some. There's the barred owl, and barred owls sound like this. That's what a barred owl sounds like. And you can see they're called barred owls because they have bars in their fur. You see it looks like bars going this way and bars going this way. Not their fur, their feathers. There's also the northern saw-whet. And northern saw-whets are little tiny owls. Let me pull it up, what it sounds like. The northern saw-whet sounds kind of like this. And my dog just came in. Hopefully it won't bark. Sounds kind of like an alarm. And northern saw-whets are so small. When I was teaching in the outdoor school that I taught at, there was some northern saw-whets, and we were supposed to be collecting them so that we could identify them and track them in their migration, so where they were traveling to. And the saw-whet was so small that we used juice containers, like the frozen juice that comes in the freezer section, and you would stick the owl in there. It didn't hurt them to be able to weigh it because that's how small they were. There's also the great horned owl, and as we learned, its ears are not on top of its head like that, so those are actually just feathers. Sounds like this. Pretty classic owl sound. The next one is the northern pygmy owl, which is actually a little bit smaller than the saw-whet, and it sounds like this. So that also has kind of an alarming call, kind of like the saw-whet does. There's also a barn owl, which are pretty common in Seattle. You've probably seen barn owls in the area. This is what it sounds like. Pretty alarming, isn't that? That one's really like, whoa. There's also the western screech owl. Let me pull that one up. The screech owl. This one I've heard sounds kind of like it's laughing. Let's listen to it one more time. It's interesting because to me, the barn owl sounds more like it's screeching than the western screech owl. There's also the spotted owl, and spotted owls are pretty cool. They're only in the Washington area now. They're an endangered species. So this is what a spotted owl sounds like. Spotted owls look and sound a lot like a barred owl, but as you can see, the spotted owls have little dots of color in their feathers, whereas a barred owl has those bars. Okay, so your exit ticket of the day. What I'm going to have you do is write 3 things you learned about owls, 2 things you found interesting, and 1 question you still have about owls. I'm really excited to learn more about birds with you as we explore this, and I hope you enjoyed learning about birds today. Again, that was all about owl adaptations.